Good morning, another beautiful day in Tasmania. It is freezing cold. Today's plan is to get the bracket from yesterday that we made up on the corner of the shipping container, and then hopefully, all going well, I'll also pull out the larger piece of bracket which is to go on the inside of the two containers. So as I said in the last video, it's ridiculously over-engineered. So the smaller brackets are 150 angle and the larger brackets are 200 angle. So anyway, so yeah, I want to try and do that and then try and winch it up the side of the containers. I was going to use the backhoe, but I think it's a little bit too wobbly. So I bought a couple of smaller hand winches, lever blocks. They're like block and tackles, but with levers on them. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, let's start old Mr. Rumbold up and have a go at picking this up with some slings. So that backhoe is a Massey Ferguson 3165S. That's the key out of them. Funny looking thing. Late 60s, maybe early 70s vintage, I'm not sure. But, 60 horse. Goes quite well. The loader on the front's good for 1.5 tons. Well, it was originally anyway. I'm not sure what the capacity of the back is, but yeah, she runs quite well. So anyway, hopefully she starts. I was told it never needs glowing, no matter how cold it is, so we'll see. thrown him off because the brakes weren't very good in these things, brand new, let alone 50 years old. So yeah, so I need to get a hook on the back of this, which I've got one coming. I just rotor broach a couple of bolts with multiple conduit, then it makes it even easier. But for now I just sling it around the top. They get a bit hairy, these things, the higher you go. And this old tractor, who's not really that happy at the moment, is kind of in the way. So I might have to take some time out and get her going and move her over there. Yes, I'm certainly not really getting 12 metres past here. I think I'll tow her out of the way with Mr. Humphreys over there. So, in case you've noticed there, all my heavy machinery are named after Are You Being Served characters. So, Mr. Humphreys, Mrs. Sloker, Mr. Rumbold. And the old Ford Tipper is Captain Peacock. You need to give them a name for something to... When those two tractors are basically exactly the same, you need to name them. I don't think this one's much better, but we'll see. Mr. Humphreys there is taken to having a little bit of a miss at start. So any diesel experts want to tell me what that is, I'll happily take their advice. I'm great at petrol, I'm fairly new to it. But he looks terrible, but he runs great. Much like John Inman. good. bits of tarp and star posts over there. I just need to get some clippers to get the cable ties off. Would you believe that was our original bathroom? So it was just two tarps there with a bit of Rio slung over, which you hang the hot water heater. We've got one of those El Cheapo Chinese gas hot water services, which is wonderful. For about $130 delivered, marvellous thing. Yeah, so we had that before we built the what we call the ablution block plant room. So basically it's a shed. And if I can't stress enough, if you're going to do this, before you get anything else, build a 3x3 shed with plenty of ventilation, and to begin with it's your toilet and your shower and everything. Then put a generator in it, and then so it starts life as an ablution block and becomes a plant room basically. I wouldn't, if I had my time again, I would have built that before I even got a shipping container, or maybe one shipping container, but before I bothered putting them on foundations or anything like that. Makes life so much more bearable. Anyway, get some snips, get rid of that, then start up the backhoe again, and yeah, try and move this steel. how typical she is. Obviously the backhoe weighs more than the bucket and this bit of steel, but I'm not 100% sure. Let's not find out the hard way. Not until I built a ROPS on this anyway. So I'm just going to have to carefully lever it over those boulders there, and then try and swing it back around again. So nothing's ever easy. Maybe there's something in the way. It's because you're dealing with such whopping great long pieces of steel. So I'll carefully do this. Hopefully it doesn't kick back over. 3 metres on them. And obviously I'm going to have to winch it from the back side, so I'm going to have to use a couple of straps to get a bit more length there. Anyway, we'll see how we go. I wanted to visualise the slope. Don't know what the point of that was. These slings before, they're actually big loops. So that sort of thing really easy. Alright, so that'll put on the end there and then go down and connect. Since I am working here by myself, I've got my phone on me, which will do for an emergency call, but I should get the other ladder out and put it against just in case I manage to knock the other one off. So this will be the Alamo. Pro tip, put the second ladder further out of the way so when the other one falls over it doesn't knock it over as well, because I've done that before. Right, chain block. So I do have another neighbour with another backhoe, but as you saw before, the steel's just too long. It swings around in the breeze too much. This is a lot more, I'm hoping, a lot more control. Hopefully it's long enough. As I suspected, need 2 shackles. something to join it onto there. Sadly, the bigger shackle won't fit. Oh. A bit of rope would do it. It's only, it's only 250 kilos, that bracket. Bit of rope. Remember your cubs, left over right and under, right over left and under. I was kicked out of cubs. It's a long story. Alright, get that tap out of the way. I thought, oh, you get another hook, but no, it's just fly on the end of the chain, stupid. Right, same again. I'll adjust this camera a little bit. Right, let's see how this works. So all we have to do really is just patiently winch both sides up, at least to get the weight off the backhoe, and then I can undo the backhoe, get it out of the way, and then just slide it up. Might just have to lever it up, but the whole plan is, as I said, those end casts, the tops of that bracket will sit over the end cast, and it should have about 50mm either end for adjustment. We shall see. So here we are a little later in the day. Ran out of SD card in the other camera, sadly. Possibly fortunately, because I learnt a few things. My glib comment about rope before, I wouldn't use rope again. It was certainly strong enough to lift it, but when it got up to the top of the cast, it looked a bit hairy, because I think it was like a braiding against the top of the cast on the corner of the container. So I got the backhoe out and propped him up, which wasn't a bad idea for safety anyway, and replace them with chains. The other thing, as you can see, I think it's really better not to put them on the outside, but put them one in. It gives you a little more control over what's going on, because obviously I need to move it to the left a bit, it was basically going to get to the point where it was going to fall off the edge of the container. So if you're going to try this, learn from my experience here and use the one one in rather than the one on the end. It made it easy with the length of the chain on the come along, but that's no excuse. So if I was going to do this again from the ground up, I think I'd put longer chains in the come alongs. They come with 3 meters, but again, the chain, it's not that expensive. Put 5 meter chains in them or something. It's very slow, as you saw in the other video, but or earlier in this video, I should say. But you know, it works. It certainly works, especially when it's just one person. So that's what I've learnt so far. Also, those come-alongs, after they've had a bit of weight on them, they don't want to go down again. So both of them I actually had to take down off here, hang them off the back of the old truck here, and basically lean on them and coax them into going down again. And then once they, obviously the just gear got a bit meshed in there, but they both did it. So I think that's just the design. You can't have everything. $70. So anyway, so I'm going to keep doing this. So basically I need to move it over to the left a little bit. I've got a crowbar and a fulcrum over there, block of wood. Then we'll have a go at actually tipping it back over. Not quite sure how to do that yet, but probably something involving a couple of safety chains and then just levering it over. So I'll pull it in a little bit more first in the middle. You can definitely see the bow in this steel, because steel does flex, especially when it's 12 meters long. So but I think if I bring it in a little bit more, certainly up this left hand side here, hopefully it'll pull it left and let me then once it's there, slacken them off a little and then lever them up. That'll be the way to do it, I think. Alright, we'll see how we go. So here we are. I'm not doing a lot of filming for obvious reasons. So what I've had to do is basically get her right up on the top and then lever her around a little bit. So she wants to sit up, which is good. So I've just had to change the come-alongs to go down. Had to give the far end one a bit of a kick to make it want to change directions. So now all I'm having to do really is just loosen them off bit by bit and then give it a bit of a kick in the middle. So the backhoe's still there providing a bit of safety. It's not really doing anything other than being an ultimate brake. It's not in the way, I don't think, of it moving down. If it is, I'll have to move it. But that's it. So I've just slackened off this end a little. And now I'll go up the other end and give her a kick in the middle and then slack off the other until she sits on the corner. And then I'm going to have to move it along. I moved it along a little bit, at least to get it up on the other cast. And just with the crowbar here and that block of wood, it did seem quite movable for a while, enough to get it up there and move it over about 2 inches, 50 mil thereabouts. But as you can see, I've still got another good 100 mil or so to go, or 4 inches. All right, let's see how we go. So there she is, not much later, sitting on the corners. As we should be. So remember, with shipping containers, the most important things, only the ends are strong. So if you want to put a roof on them, except anything but the lightest roof, it's got to join to the ends. So that's the idea behind this these brackets. So this has taken quite a bit of time, but as I said, it's this one was the learning experience. So I've got 3 more to do, obviously. And hopefully they'll go a bit better, get them up in about a day and a half for the whole 3 rather than a day each. So now all I have to do really is get this fellow into place properly, line her up on the left hand side, probably to either 50 or 100 mils off that cast, just so I can make them uniform across the others, so they're so the purlins will be perpendicular to the edge of the long length of the container. And then we'll go from there. So it seems to be working out okay. If it had been done the way I wanted, with much lighter steel, half the weight of this, but around the other way, with the cleats welded into the bracket, I would have just picked the whole thing up with probably even the excavator arm on the backhoe and just plonked it there, and it'd be done. But this is 150 by 10 mil steel. So it's pretty bloody heavy. So anyway, yeah, just have to edge her along and set her in place. Well, sadly, my plan of giving it a little gentle tap to even up that end piece there with the excavator arm didn't work because it doesn't go high enough. It's probably about an inch too short. Story of my life. So I'll have to get up there and just lever it across and hope that having slacked that left hand side, or the one closest to me, chain off a little, was what that was making it harder to do before. So I'll give that a go, see how that goes. Alright, there we go. It's about where I want it. The front cleat is 50 from the front of the cast, 50 mil, so that'll do. And there's a good bit to weld on either end. I might just find I have to use the backhoe as a very large clamp to push against it to make sure it's really tight against that cast on the end there before I weld it. That being said, I might be able to, oh no, I should be able to get a clamp on that, yeah, on that corner closest to me and on the outside. So yeah, I'll clamp that, clean that up, just to that gap there on the inside of the cast, just so I can use the whole corner to weld. So there you have it. You can see there's a fairly good gap under there at the front, and very little here in the middle, so that's sagging down. So we'll have to make up, I'll have to measure that at the front and then make up a couple of little spaces basically to put under there. On the inner brackets of the inside of the containers, there's two upright spec'd, but there's no upright spec'd on the outside. But between with some spaces, I think that'll do. Worst comes to worst, I can always put some uprights on the outside as well if I want to gild the lily, but it probably won't need it. So anyway, I think that'll do. There's only just to clean up and then and to basically tack this fellow on. So I gave so in the end it was just the gentle persuader and a pair of ear muffs that did the work. So I did test my welds because a few of them got a damn good belting and it didn't move, so happy days. So anyway, so I think that that ends this video, showing a couple of interesting ways to get a angle up onto the side of a container, but I think realistically the backhoe is the way to do it. Without that it'd be more difficult. The only other thing that you could do if you didn't have a backhoe and you wanted to do this, I'd suggest, well, if you're doing things like this, you're just going to need heavy machinery, but if you don't, you'd basically want to make yourself up some sort of tripod rig to get a bit of height above the container, so that you can actually swing it into place that way. So it's like a little crane arm basically, but by the time you fiddle about, just get yourself a backhoe. Depending on where you are, I mean this fellow cost me $6,000, and down here in Tassie they pop up around that price fairly commonly for sort of that size and above. My neighbour got a slightly bigger one, an MF50, for basically the same price. Yeah, so anyway, so there you have it. We've got a bit of weather. It's been fairly pleasant today. So I'm going to clean up and tack this on, and then probably get organised for making some more brackets tomorrow. Because I think at the very least I should be able to make up one of the bigger sets and lift that up. Learning what I've learnt now, hopefully it'll be a quicker and easier job, even though getting the backhoe in here in between these two, because I need to do the inner one of this green container next, might be a little trickier, but we'll see how we go. She might fit, but we might just have to use the side of the bucket perhaps rather than the front of it. Oh, well, we'll see how we go. Don't be surprised if I don't video that one, because I might need to pay attention. But anyway, happy days. Thanks for watching.